welcome to our very first episode. And this episode is how to get the house of your dreams. And we got this topic because
I'm in the process of buying my first home with my husband. So I was asking Tina, how can I manifest a home that I truly desire? You know, buying your first house is really important and a little stressful. I'm a little nervous about it. I don't know. I've never owned a home obviously before. So there's so much that goes into it and so many different things that you have to know or be aware of, depending on where you're moving or different factors. So I really want to make sure that I'm asking the universe exactly what I want.
And this is something I love to discuss because of the fact that years ago when Jerry and I actually didn't even know it was possible at that time in our life to purchase a house. I was meditating, and this is how it started, I was just meditating like, how are we going to do this?
Right. And
Jerry did the complex thing of finding a lender, getting pre-approved.
Right.
That part, don't take that advice too much from me because I usually don't do that part. I leave that for him.
Yeah.
But of course you need a reliable lender. So all that other stuff, I work with everyone in regards to manifesting that house. So whether it's because you're looking for it now,
right,
or say for instance, in your case, I know you're looking now, where somebody else might be looking like, well, in 5 years, I'm looking to retire, I'm looking to get married.
Yeah.
You can start manifesting it now.
Right.
And then all I do is I recommend allow it to come when it's supposed to, because that's what it is. But the one thing that I learned in the several houses that we have purchased in the past is, of course, location.
Yes, that's the kicker. We're trying to figure out location.
Yeah. So the one thing, I always like to start with the basics, and I call this spiritual homework. So it's not like anybody has to turn it into me, but it's your own time connecting with your creator and saying, hey, who am I and what do I want? Now for couples, one of the things that I strongly recommend is, give Victor his own pad with pen.
Yeah.
You have yours, and start thinking about without limitation. I mean, right. I know you're not buying a mansion,
yes,
with, like $6.5 million.
Right.
But, I want 36 rooms and 14 bathrooms and 4 kitchens. I know
but that's Victor. He's like, I can manifest that, no problem. I can do that.
But, this is the story Jerry does not like.
Oh, no.
And I'm so happy I get to share it in the first podcast.
Yeah.
So that day I was meditating and Spirit had told me, make a list of what you want. So on that list, and it's both Jerry's and my both second marriage, and it was my first house. We already owned a mobile home, but we were buying a house because we were expanding. His kids were living with us, right, besides my son, so we needed room.
Yeah.
But we wanted stability because the school district where our kids went, they were putting cops in the elementary school and all like this. So I was having all these fear factors, even though I worked at schools at that time, besides doing this stuff. But I didn't realize all it took in a house. And oh my goodness, the anxiety and stress, you could get over it. The thing is, I know right now you don't have children, but
we're looking to expand, so we have to keep that in mind too.
Well, when Jerry and I purchased our current home, we didn't have children.
Right, okay.
And then all of a sudden we were blessed with raising 2 of our grandchildren.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, why do we have our house here?
Yeah.
Sorry, no offense, but I'm really not a big fan of the school district my grandchildren are going.
Yeah. It's hard to find one that you like. It really is.
I mean, a lot of the staff members are nice, but it's just other things.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just picky.
Yeah.
But I didn't manifest that part, So you can't get something you don't put out there.
Right.
So back to the show. What happens was, I'm sitting there as Jerry's playing a video game on our computer, and because he was a great airman. shooting battleships
Oh my
and like
gosh.
that. It was hilarious. And I'm sitting there writing, oh, I want 4 bedrooms. I want a living room and a family room.
Right.
I want a fireplace,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm writing all these things down. I want an extended 2-car garage, a large driveway. 'Cause
Yeah.
I wanted the kids to be able to like roller skate or something in the
Right.
driveway or put a basketball hoop. So
Yeah.
I was thinking of everything and I was like
Yes.
so excited. I didn't know about communities then. I learned the hard way. But I'm just not a pro community person, even though I currently even live in one. But back then I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
And so that's something to look into. It's like, are you a community person? Right now we live in a cookie cutter HOA.
Right.
But before it wasn't, where we had more space.
Yes.
So
You mean like community guidelines, just kind of like the rules and things of
Yeah.
how they're operating?
yeah,
in
the
community.
HOA.
Ah, yeah, that's something I
So-
wouldn't have thought of.
Yeah,
right?
because
yeah.
like in our HOA here, I stay out of it. The first one I didn't. I was like the leader of the crime watch.
Oh,
But yeah, I was the president because I put up the recommendation of, hey, we need a crime watch.
Yeah, yeah.
So guess who won that?
Yeah, I don't think HOAs would be my jam. So that's
But-
good to consider.
But because when you go see a realtor, and what I noticed is when you go see them, it's like, oh, okay, so I have $200,000 to spend on a house, or I have $500,000. I want 3 bedrooms, and then they're like, okay, we'll bring you to this one that's $750,
Oh my gosh.
and that's what we went through.
Yeah.
But when I made my list, because I brought my list with me,
Right.
I had no help from my partner because he was busy.
Yeah.
You know, besides he was at work and he had a fire department, but I wrote the thing. But finally I harassed Jerry so much and I said, Jer, what do you want on here?
Yeah.
What do you want on this list? And he goes, Tina, as long as the roof lasts for 5 years, we're fine with the mortgage. And I'm like, okay, roof that lasts about 5 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Or at least 5 years is what I wrote. And I wrote that on the list. So we had this list and we had 2 different realtors at that time. We ended up having 2. The third one is actually who got us our house.
Okay.
But everybody took us to what was not on my list. And we saw so that the children could have killed us.
Oh my gosh.
And it's such a waste of time and it brings your
Right.
energy down. And that's why
Yeah.
I'm mentioning, because it's like, on no lie, the kids will tell you, we looked at 99 houses in 3 months.
Oh my gosh.
Every weekend and a couple times during the week, we drove from New York to Pennsylvania to look in all these areas. And we didn't know where we wanted to get located.
Right.
And then we ended up going even further south than we really wanted to, and not thinking Jerry had an hour and a half commute
Oh my
when
goodness.
it's nice,
Yeah.
one way to work.
Right.
And we didn't take that in all to the consideration. It's like, oh, I'm young, I could do it.
Right.
But after he did it so many years, it was wearing on him. So I'm bringing that up because think of your commute. A lot of times you're like, oh, that's
Yeah.
not bad. And then it's like, oh my goodness, what did I just do?
It's true, because we used to live in Dallas, Texas, and we were a little younger than in our 20s and doing like 30, almost 45-minute commutes, and at the time that was fine, but in this area we may have to consider a commute again, just depending on, because in Wilmington you don't really have a whole lot of backyards, which is a big thing on my list, is that I want a backyard for the dog, and he wants a garage, and our realtor did already warn us, like, you may have to think about commuting, but it's worth, I think you also have to figure out what's worth to you. If I can have the certain things on my list that are big pros, I may be willing to do a 30-minute commute.
Right.
But those are the kind of things we're having to really decide, like, well, he wants a garage, that's high on his number 1 list. That's not that's not a lot in the Wilmington area, so we're having to consider living outside on the outskirts. But we were like, it may be worth it because we spend a lot of time at home. I work from home. He eventually would love to work from home, and we want our space to feel like we can spend there all day long and not get sick of each other.
I totally get it. we're looking for that home atmosphere for the kids.
Yes, right.
And that was, we wanted the sense of community,
Right.
and all like that. It was really an interesting journey, tiring. We loved our house. What had happened was I was getting so drained, and we were all getting so drained with looking.
Yeah.
And we went to this one after the 2 realtors that we saw the most houses with.
Yeah.
But none of them listened. And sometimes people are intimidated. And it's like, oh, but I don't want to step on people's toes. And no, this is not the spiritual. Well, I guess it is still spiritual because it's my self-value.
Right.
After going through so many things that we did, the last 10 houses was with the last realtor. And it was because I said, listen, here's my list. This is what I want to look at.
Right.
If you have something comparable, I'll look at it, but I won't promise you I want to go see it.
Right.
I have to feel it out.
Yeah.
And I tuned into my soul search in that sense.
Okay.
So what we did was, it was, I would say, our first house. I mean, I would probably still live there now if it wasn't in that community or in Pennsylvania. No offense, because I loved PA. PA gave me my start with my business, and I consider PA in most cases my real home.
Yeah.
Even though I was born and raised in Orange County, New York.
Home away from home.
It was, that's where I created my family.
Yeah, right. Your start.
So, and my spiritual family. So I was blessed with that. But we had a lot of experiences there.
Yeah.
So fast forward, the house was within the price. I even put a price range on my manifesting list. So I named it. So to be a little bit more specific, sorry, I went on tangent. I make a home list. It's just like a grocery list.
Okay.
And it just says home list. Very simple. 2 bedroom, 2 bath, 2 this, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Very simplistic. I will tell you the thing I learned when we moved down here. If you need internet and if you need cell service, make sure that's on your list.
Yeah.
Because our first home here, I needed a landline
Oh.
because I had no internet that worked over. It was as fast as dial-up.
Really?
So, and I hadn't used dial-up in years.
Right.
Because there's places in North Carolina that doesn't have the high-speed internet.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
So, and the cell service, like Verizon didn't like us at the time because we were constantly calling up. My calls were continuously dropping. I couldn't use my own phone unless I had internet, and the internet was too slow.
And that's not helpful when we work from home.
And I worked from home then,
Yeah.
so I couldn't even Skype with people or anything.
Oh, gosh.
It hindered some of my business, and we tried everything. And they're just like, oh, well, within the next 5 years, we're going to have, well, I don't care if you're having high-speed internet.
Right.
In
the
5
next
years.
5 years.
I need it now.
That's not helping me at all.
So luckily we were only there about a year and a half.
Oh, yeah.
But, we made it work. It was a little bit more difficult. I limited, some of the things I did at work. And it was like nobody could be on TV or the phone
Right.
when I was doing Skypes.
Gosh. That's crazy. We're going back to 1990.
Yeah, exactly. So it was funny. So those are like people forget about some of those little fine details. That's why I said about.
So you mean we get real specific? Like we can get
if you need it.
Yeah.
If you need that, like 3 of the topics I noticed that we didn't touch was the internet and communication.
Yeah.
Was the commute and was schools.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look into the local government and crime, and because I actually do.
Yeah.
I'm not a political person,
Right.
But I used to be. But I will look into, what the demographics are
Yeah.
in regards to. Okay, do I need a security system? Do I
Right.
need this and that?
Yeah.
With what I do, Jerry does have security because he feels more comfortable with that.
Yeah. For
But,
being a medium, that's kind of necessary. You never know.
I have my spiritual guides and that all around
Yeah.
me. So, but you want to figure out how close you want to be to your neighbors. Don't
Right.
settle.
Yes.
And sometimes you get those salespeople who are like really pushy,
Right.
and they're like, oh, but this is the closest we're gonna get. And I go back to the basics, like my mom taught me. It's do the pros and cons.
Yeah.
So your main list is your pro.
Right.
Then you
Okay.
write the list of everything this other house has to offer, or just check off what it has.
Okay.
If you're missing like 80, like say it only has 80%, you would still be settling. I
Yeah.
try to go over 90.
Okay.
With this house, my realtor had said, this is not the house for you.
Yeah.
This current house we're living in. And I'm like, why? She goes, well, you don't want an HOA. You didn't want a cookie cutter house. You did. But when I walked into this house, I knew it had a purpose.
Yeah.
I sensed my father-in-law, who's deceased, right in the entranceway.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, okay, there's a purpose of this house.
Yeah.
So I'm different than the average person doing it. Normally, I probably would have put this on this was 80%.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But
So-
you're using your other gifts to tune in and go, well, is this really the place? Okay. I feel
Right.
this is the place. Because sometimes, because that's where I want to make sure that I have, I have my certain specific goals, but I'm also being realistic, kind of that, how do we dream, but also be a little realistic with our price range and what we're asking for. Because even when I was putting my stuff like I want a fence, I would like to not have neighbors super close to me, and he wants a garage, and I would like a fireplace. Those all sound like they're kind of expensive things, and I'm like, how do I stay realistic but also ask like the universe, like, this is what I want.
But that's where I don't want you to settle. Like, we
Yeah.
have our fireplace, we have our backyard with our
Right.
fence. Jerry has a smaller garage, you know. So it is feeling and seeing the comfort.
Yeah.
You know, that is a big part of it. Like,
All right, that was the first half of our first podcast on Manifest a Home. So if you'd like to hear the full version, please subscribe to our Spotify podcast and leave us a comment if you would, if you enjoyed it, and if you have a suggestion on something you would like to hear us talk about. So have a wonderful day, and can't wait to see you on the other side.